Good evening, everybody. Tonight I want to talk to you about something that most of us deal with on a daily basis. For those of us that are part of any organization, we know and we see how communication can affect the way that our organization runs. And within that, it inherently affects the way that the culture is within that organization. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to combine those two pieces, communication and culture, and we're going to talk about organization culture theory. Alright, so tonight we're going to answer a few questions that you may have on organization culture theory. First one is going to be, what exactly is it? What is organization culture theory? What are the different approaches to this theory, the cultural levels and types of cultures, and then we're going to talk about some of the objections with organization culture theory. Alright, so the textbook tells us that it is a shared assumption, values, beliefs, language, symbols, and meaning systems within an organization. Alright, that's according to Sage. Clifford Geertz tells us, based on a metaphor, that the organization culture is like a spider web, intricate, unique, and interconnected amongst all the employees. Pretty much what that means is that from the center of the web all the way to the outside of the web, you're connected in some way. Alright, so that worker bee is connected to the CEO some way, shape, or form. Alright, organization is a set of loosely structured symbols that are maintained and co-created by a pattern of individual psychological factors and various international factors that shape shared and unshared values, beliefs, and assumptions within a given organization. Alright, it's a lot of words. What we're going to do is we're going to break it down a little bit further. Okay, so organizational culture is nothing more than a group of individuals working towards a common goal. Alright, it is a subculture within a culture and is based around a hierarchy and structure. Alright, and most importantly, utilizes vertical and horizontal communication. And I'm going to explain what horizontal and vertical communication is when we sit here and we talk about the different approaches. So the two types of approaches that we're going to talk about is that management and that interpretive approach to organizational culture. That management approach is going to be that vertical approach. So using that up and down communication between the employees and the supervisors. Alright, as a strong corporate culture can increase productivity among employees due to high morale. So this weighs heavily on the management of that organization to motivate the individuals to achieve that goal. Where that interpretive approach is going to be that horizontal communication, alright, that left and right, where you're looking at your peers to learn what the goal and how to achieve the goal actually is. An employee gains an understanding of the culture by examining and analyzing performance, tasks, and rituals within the organization. So you're learning from one another by being told in the management approach what to do or how to do it. Alright, you're more self-motivated. Alright, and this is all going to tie into the different types of cultures that we are all associated with. So first one's going to be that power culture that we're going to talk about. Alright, it's more direct, stern, and uses decisive management tactics. A good example of a power culture can be the U.S. military. Everybody joins the military to reach a common goal. We all have that common goal to protect and defend the United States. So when we're given an order, we're decisive when giving the order, and then the people that the order is being received by are almost immediately going to act upon that order, regardless of how much it interferes with a prior order. So we can change direction very rapidly. Alright, so that where that comes into is that willing to adapt to immediate change. Because sometimes a mission just changes and you have to accommodate to what's going on in the world. Those role cultures are going to deal more with those individual task based. So when a company or an organization is trying to function, it can utilize different gears. So multiple different gears to make the whole machine work. So with each one of those individual tasks, the employee knows exactly what's expected of them and operates in uniformity. So everybody's kind of working together to achieve this goal. Alright, the problem with that role culture is if one of those gears stops turning, then the machine can ultimately stop working. But as long as everybody's working in unison, then the machine is able to run effectively. The thing about this is it's very resistant to change. Alright, it's very resistant to change while it's working. So the machine has to stop completely to change out one of those gears to change direction. Alright, last one's going to be that achievement culture. This is more of a team base. Everybody kind of works together as one gear working the machine. So if anybody within that team maybe starts to lack, then everybody can pick up for what it is that they're doing. Alright, this utilizes more of an opinion base from the whole team. So the whole team puts in their opinions, they state their facts, they conversate, but they all come together as one at the end to be able to come up with a solution to a problem and achieve the ultimate goal. Alright, so within these cultures, next thing we're gonna talk about is the different levels. Alright, so the first one is gonna be that regional and national level culture. All these are gonna differentiate between country and country, and even regions within that country. So the United States, we work off the system of that 9 to 5, as everybody calls. You go to work at 9, we leave at 5, we work an 8-hour day, we have a lunch in between, and that's pretty standard. Right? Anything we do outside of that is pretty much our own time. But in countries like Japan, they're going to work much longer days and have smaller breaks in between. Like I said, hour-long lunch, they may have a half an hour lunch, but they also have 10-minute breaks spread out throughout the day. Also in Japan, they start off every day with working out. So they'll go outside, they'll stretch, and they'll do calisthenics, where we don't do that here in the United States. We're expected to do that on our own time to maintain our own personal fitness. Next thing we do is different professional cultures. Alright, so the examples we use are engineers are going to differ from doctors, they're going to differ from teachers, because their overall goal for their organization is going to be different between them. Engineers their goal is to make things work and function. Doctors are in the business of saving lives, while teachers are there to mold young people into well-educated people. So they're there to teach, they're there to educate. Alright, and then moving from there, we're going to talk about the corporate cultures. So within those Fortune 500 companies, those massive corporations, they're all going to have their different mission, their different goal for their organization. We use the example of Google, Amazon, and Disney. Google's goal is to keep people informed, whether it be through maps, through search engines, what have you. That is their overall goal for their organization. Amazon is to deliver goods. They want people to have things. So you go to Amazon for that. So their whole mission and their whole goal is to find the best way for people to get a product. Whereas Disney is in the business for entertainment. They're going to find the best way to entertain people, and they're going to design their culture around that. Within all of these, we're going to have different subcultures. Alright, those subcultures are going to differentiate between the hierarchy levels of that culture or of that organization, the different departments of that organization, and even broken down into different social groups within that. So for instance, you may have a major corporation where you have upper level management, mid, low level management, and then you have the laborers. They're all going to have their own subculture where they talk, and their goals are going to be completely different. Same thing with the departments and the different social groups. So with those social groups, you can have, for instance, I'll utilize the military because that's something that I know very well. The people I work with, we all work towards a common goal, but there's other people I connect with on a different level because we grew up in the same way. Alright, so that's how we can kind of break down the different subcultures. Next we're going to talk about is how these cultures, these different cultures kind of build that organization. Alright, they do it through visioning, framing, and unobstructive cultural controls. That visioning is nothing more than that mission statement. Why are we here? Alright, what is the goal of our organization? Alright, every organization must have an overall vision to clearly communicate to consumers and employees. This is used to inspire and motivate the team. From there, they may use different things like framing. Right? So Disney utilizes framing in their own way than Amazon would. Framing is nothing more than using different tactics to create your brand. Right? So when I talk about Disney, they have what's called the Disney look. Clean-cut men are a commonality within the organization, right? Minus those who have fully grown mustaches, because the Disney look is that of a clean-cut man. The only way you can have facial hair is if you kind of mimic what the founder of Disney had, which is that fully grown mustache. So that look is very unique to them. Then you have those different unobstructive cultural controls. This is a fancy way of saying that it's positive reinforcement. So doing different things for the organization that motivates the employees to want to continue working as hard as they are. That can be something as small as an end of the year party, or even bringing in certain treats throughout the day, or gimmicks that maybe the organization uses to help motivate everybody to kind of get through the day and accomplish the overall goal. Right? So all this sounds like it's pretty foolproof, but like anything, there's always going to be objections, right? So the different objections or controversies to this theory come into different forms of breakdown of the unified whole, separation of differentiated subcultures, and fragmentation of the organization. So when we start talking about breakdown of the unified whole, that's when we're going to talk about parties having to choose sides. So upper level management may have a disagreement, and now the company is beginning to split, or the organization's beginning to split, because people at the top may have different views of what the overall goal should be. All right, so this causes change, this causes inconsistency in what actually needs to happen. Separation of differentiated subcultures. This is heavy when it comes to differences between subordinates and the leadership. So they become in a disagreement, if you will. And you see this whenever employees go on strike. They feel like they're not receiving the benefits that they deserve, so now they begin to challenge the leadership. All right, this creates a breakdown in the trust and confidence between the two parties. So this can usually be kind of narrowed down to communication flaws between those types of employees, or between those types of subcultures. Then you have that fragmentation of organizations. That's when you have a dispersion of values and beliefs. All right, so multicultural people, may have differences within the organization, and it's not allowing them to work together effectively because of their differences. So with all of these, they say that if one of these are present, then the theory is disproven. So if the culture, the organizational culture, is not working effectively because of one of these things being a part of it, then the theory is obviously null and void. Right? But as we know, all theories are just that, they're theories. They're not 100% fact. They're not going to work 100% of the time. But majority of the time, a lot of the things that we talked about are in effect, and they work fairly effectively. So tonight we talked about what cultural theory is, the different approaches to organizational culture theory, cultural levels and types, and the types of objections that are present within the theory. I'm hoping that everybody kind of learned something tonight from this presentation, and if you have any questions, feel free to comment, and myself, Brandon, or Zach will be happy to answer anything that you may have. Alright, here's some of the references that we utilize, and I hope everybody has a good night.